What's up, guys? Today I'm going to put together a QRPGuys tri-band vertical antenna. I've never done one of these before, but this is from QRPGuys. Their kits are really inexpensive, really simple, and they work. They just do. So I'll show you what the components look like here. And with these guys, because their components and their antenna systems and their tuners and things of that nature are so inexpensive, part of the cost cutting is where you have to go online and download a PDF or a Word document of the instructions of building it. So I failed to print one off today at work, or yesterday at work. Today's Saturday, and so I brought my computer down here so I could read the instructions online. And let me show you here what it looks like. So this is the kit, and as you can see, it is a what do they call this? QRPGuys portable 40-30 20-meter tri-band vertical antenna. And this antenna kit right here with all the components, I paid $15 plus I think $5 shipping, so $20. You supply your own wire and you have a tri-band vertical antenna. It comes with all the components you see here, and we'll get to soldering this together, and I'll give you my take on what I think about it. And so apparently I'll read you a quick thing about this. I guess Joe Everhart, call sign November 2 Charlie X-ray, has probably designed the majority part of this antenna, because they said with his permission they've adopted his portable vertical antenna using switch toroids. That's what these little circle things are right here. These are toroids. They have for the base loading inductance into a lightweight antenna for easy outdoor setup. And they give you say that you can read his full article based on the July 2017 issue of QRP Quarterly if you're interested. So I will put a link to this description, as if I can find a link to the article, I'll put that in here as well. But other than that, let's get started putting this together. Well, you can see the components are pretty simple. You've got your BNC connector for your antenna. You got the two toroids for probably each of the bands. You got a wing nut with a screw and a nut and some crush washers here. This is for the antenna connection as well as the counterpoise. And you have these switches to switch between the bands, and that's pretty simple. Oh well, and the magnet wire for winding these toroids. And I'm not good at this. I have a hard time with these, so hopefully I won't have too hard of a time. I found out that this stuff right here is coated with some good enamel, so you have to have some fine emery paper or sandpaper to get the coating off or to solder. And the first thing they say to do is, so this is also used as an antenna winder, and they recommend taking some fine sandpaper and sanding down these rough edges right here to keep from, when you wind your wire on here, to keep from cutting the installation. I might do that now. We'll see. So it doesn't take much. I'm actually just using a small file here, a round file, to just smooth off some of those edges, and you can feel it when you get in there to how much you need to take off. And it's really, you're just really getting like the burrs off, to be honest with you, from the manufacturing process. I'm assuming it's no big deal. Something that needs to be done. So you got to do these little notches that are cut into this side, this notch, this one, and these two. So I'll finish that up and we'll get busy. Okay, the first step that we have to do here is to solder these two switches, switch S1 and S2. There's 5 pins on each of them, and I'll go ahead and get busy with that if I can get this flipped over. So let's see if we can do this here. If you have a little workbench that you can rest these on, it'll probably make it a lot easier. I unfortunately do not, so I'll be trying to wedge this pair of tweezers under there to see if that helps. Already got my soldering iron heated up, and I guess we'll get going here. So I got one soldered on there. Just trying to get them soldered so I can at least hold them in place so they're not flopping around so much. It's the only bad thing of not having a proper soldering table, you know, with a nice circuit card holding vise. But we'll live. So I got the switch soldered on there. Like solid solder joints to me. The switches seem to function, and they're on there pretty good. So, all right, the next step is to install the horizontal BNC connector, which is this one right here. And you can't go wrong with where this stuff goes. I mean, it even tells you the 50 ohm input, and it only fit one way, right? I don't like the way those wires are, so I'd address these a little bit. You can get them in the right spot. I mean, everything is key to where you really cannot mess this up. And they gauge their products, the skill level required for putting someone together, like a 1 through a 5 or whatever. And I don't do this very often, and I'm pretty confident with that. I'm doing them okay. I've never felt lost or like I didn't know what I was doing or shouldn't be doing. So yeah, I think that if you are a hobbyist or you do a little soldering, I think that this would be a fun way to get into it. At least to build some confidence, you know, that you can do some tackle some bigger projects. Okay, well, we got the antenna connector on there. You can see in there, it's really well made for a simple project, to be honest with you. And the next thing would be to add the hardware posts for the antenna and the ground or counterpoise. So this is the ground right here, because it says ground right there on it, and this is the counterpoise or the vertical wire. And so they say to, let's see here. So you put this screw goes into this wing nut as so, which I never would have realized how to put this on. I'll never put a wing nut in something kind of backwards like that. Interesting. Okay, and then let's see here. You put one of these hex nuts on. And then a star washer goes here. That goes into there, and the other hex nut goes on the back side. I apologize if it's not in frame. All right, so I guess I'll tighten these later, but there you go. Then you can just use that to tighten that up. I don't have a wrench right here without digging for it, so I'll just do this later. So there you go. And it says to, now see on this side, obviously the wing nut would get in the way of the antenna connection, so we have to install that in the opposite manner. But it'll still go on this way, with this screw going through the top of the wing nut like that. Still interesting. Like this. And then the crush, well, hold on, let's see. Crush washer, first a nut. I almost did that one wrong. First the hex nut, then the crush washer. So this will come here like that, and it'll go on here. Sometimes these little things have, I don't have big hands, but these things are kind of small sometimes. It's hard to get them lined up with big fingers and tight spots, so. This is real time. I am not speeding this up. The best thing to do is hold it and turn this, right? It absolutely is. Okay, so I will put that through there like that and tighten this down like so. And I'll dress this up later to where I'll have these two nuts tight just so the counterpoise and everything can go on here. I don't really like this sample because I will tell you what I did. I've already prepared the counterpoise for this system, and it's 4 10-foot radials. And as you can see, I've already put a ring connector on here, and clearly this is not going to work. So I might put this another way to get that ring connector under the wing nut instead of, I guess this is so it doesn't get lost. I might just cut a notch out of this ring connector because I've already, you know, got a nice soldered lug on there, and I don't want to do it that way. So anyway, if I figure out how to do that, I'll come back and show you what I did. All right, so we got the 2 ground posts soldered on there, and the next thing to do is probably going to be winding the toroids, and that's not, yep, there it is. So the first thing we have to do is, these are different toroids. One's the L1 and the other one's the L2. And the first one is going to have to be, let me read the instructions here. I need 30 inches of wire for the first one. And if I can get this wire undone here, I'm going to have to measure. And one thing I don't like about this wire is the way it's wound. And you start getting these little kinks in it. I know you guys see that little kink right there? And it's hard to pull that through the toroid because, you know, with anything that's wire like this, it's very fragile. And you start getting those kinks in it, and eventually it could break. It just could. So let me go measure 30 inches of this wire, and I'll be right back. All right, so I got my 36 or 30 inches of wire trimmed and cut here. And one thing about these toroids, when they say you have to put 24 turns, so this one has to get 24 turns of this wire on this toroid. So anytime the wire passes through the inside of the toroid is 1 turn. And a lot of people get confused because it only counts, it doesn't matter how many wire wraps you see on the outside. That number, it is relevant, but the relevant number are the ones that are inside. So how many times the wire goes through the toroid counts as 1 turn. So I'm going to leave probably an inch or so out, and I'm looking at the picture, and I'll throw it up here, right in here somewhere. So it goes, I like to start with it how the picture looks that they show you. So this side of the toroid, the trailing end is on the front left. So now that's 1 turn inside that toroid. And you want to keep them tight and kind of spaced evenly as you go through this. And this wire is really pliable, but it's also very fragile. So this will probably be sped up right here, and I will do my best to take care of that. All right, so that's 1 turn. Let me go ahead and get the rest of them done, and we'll be back to you. Okay, well, the toroid's finished. And I don't know if you can see that, but you notice how the first wire is coming out on top of the toroid, and the second wire is coming out on the bottom. And the hard part is trying to keep the spacing between all these wires as even as you can, all the way, or as uniform all the way around. And it's really difficult. So once you get it wrapped, you can go through and dress it up a little bit with something small. I've got a pair of tweezers and a dental instrument that I use sometimes. So just a little dental hook like that, and I'll go through and I'll move the wires just to get them dressed up as best I can, because you know, the neater this is and the better it is, the better it may work for you, because you don't want to be taking this off and having to rewind it, because it's wear and tear on the board. And I've actually had to remove things off this board, so, well, not this one, but boards in the past where it's delaminated some of the pads, and that's not good. You gotta throw the thing away. So let me get the other one wound. The other toroid is going to be wrapped in a similar manner, but it's going to have 38 turns. So you see how tight it is with 24 turns, and now I got to do the same size, but I have got to put 38 turns of it. It's the same length wire, but 38 turns. So I'll get started with that, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, well, I have the second toroid wound, and as you can see the difference between the two, you see how much tighter the windings are on this one. It's got over 10 times, you know, not 10 times, it's got 10 more windings than this one does. So yeah, trying to get these things all lined up is really painful for me. So I don't look forward to it, especially when it's got a lot of windings like that in there. It really becomes tedious. I mean, this one wasn't horrible because I could actually space them around, but this one, because, well, this one, I get in the frame. This one, because it's so tight. So the next thing we have to do, I'm just going to turn my multimeter on here, and I'm going to show you guys. I got it on impedance or diode, so I'll show you that there's no continuity on this magnet wire. So if you look, I'm touching both of them. There's nothing there, nothing. Okay, so let me show you on this this toroid right here. This is the first one I wound. It was the one that had the 24 turns, which is irrelevant. But I also want to show you. So I got the leads, and I'm going to press them down on here to show you that there's actually no continuity here at all. But if I touch the leads together, okay, so that works. So I have some really fine sandpaper. I don't remember what the grit is, 600 grit, I think. And this other one I've just finished sanding, but I don't know if it's good enough. So, you know, you have to see. Look, I've already sanded this a little bit, and it's still no continuity on these wires. And if you don't have that, when you solder that onto that board, it's not going to work. So let me get busy trying to get this stuff off of here, and I'll be back to you. Okay, so here it goes. So I don't know if you can see this, but you can see most of this wire now where I sanded it is copper. But even now, if you listen, I got continuity, but it's intermittent. So I just need to keep going until it's pure copper, and once I'm satisfied, then I'll start attaching these to the boards. I'm going to do that to both of them. So I got the L2 toroid to where I got the continuity, and I don't know if you can see this, but this mounting position is the same as this one, but you see how the hole is here for the solder joint and on the inside, and remember how this one ended up coming off the bottom and this one coming off over the top. So this is the first one that I started, and this was the trailing end. As you can see, it's going inside the hole on this one, and that's one reason you got to keep track of how many wraps you have, because if this came off ended on this side, you know, I couldn't tuck it back in over there in that hole. So make sure you count them and make sure you put them in the right spot. And these big holes right here and here, once you get the antenna set up the way you like it, they sent also 4 small zip ties to go through these holes to secure this in place. I might use them, but I also might use some hot glue. I'm not sure yet. So let me finish this up and I'll be right back. Moment of truth. So I have continuity on those, so that's a plus. So now I know that at least the solder joint is good and the toroid is wrapped, the enamel's off of there. So let me get this other one, and we'll see where we go from here. One thing I didn't cover is these 2 holes right here under the antenna lug where the vertical wire goes right here. What those are is that's the strain relief. So the antenna, the radiant element would come through there, and you bring it back up through this way to attach it right here to this lug, and that's just strain relief. You see, I can't pull that out. That way you don't pull it loose. So yeah, it looks like a pretty decent setup, and it didn't take long at all to get that taken care of. I think the longest part for this kit was winding the toroids and getting the enamel off of the wires. That was kind of a pain. And I'll have to look in the instruction manual, but obviously you switch these for the 20 meters is this way, and 30 meters is this way, and 40 meters is both. You can look at the little diagram there, it tells you which way. So this one has a 40 and a 30, and there's a 40 here. So both ways, that's a 40 meters. There's the 20 on this side, so there's 20 and 20. And if you want 30, it looks like you would turn this to 30. So pretty self-explanatory. I didn't even read the instructions on that. So anyway, I think this is a pretty cool kit. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to test it out today because it's got dark out. I got carried away. It's 8 o'clock at night. Had a bunch of things going on during the day. Wasn't able to get to this. But all in all, I think it's going to be fine. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but if I can get outside before the rain comes, I'll definitely set this up and try to get some footage on how it works. So thanks, and I'll talk to y'all later.